Hello, welcome back or welcome to Reads of an Apple. If this is your first time here, my name is Stacy and I'm doing something slightly different today. I'm going to do, as you've probably seen from the thumbnail, I'm doing an unhauling video. Now, recently over Memorial Day weekend, I had a huge stack of books that were in the storage unit from my previous living situation. I go through all that in my organizing video, so I will pop it up above if you'd like to watch that. But I have set aside all of the books, both from that and then just when I moved in, I had some double copies of books that I ended up getting from like Christmas and stuff. So I have an unhauling video for you. We have 4 boxes. 2 of them are one specific author. One of the other boxes has a lot of another author. And then we've just kind of got some randoms. A lot of this I'm getting rid of because either I'm not interested in having it anymore, it's in hardback, and if I would like to have it on my shelves again, I would prefer the paperback copies. Just books that I probably don't think I'm ever going to reread, even though they were favorites of mine. But I have kind of gravitated to really only reading romance. So I'm going to try to just unhaul a bunch of these. I think some of them I'll have to end up donating. I'm going to try to sell some to my used bookstore, and I might even try to sell some online and see how that goes, because that might be a fun endeavor too, because my used bookstore will buy books back. But I mean, you get like, I think it's a quarter of what they sell it for, something like that. Like if they sell it for $3, you get less than $1 for it. So I know they have to make money, but I feel like last time I took a whole bunch of books there, I didn't end up with like enough to buy like 3 books to replace like the 10 I brought them. And I was like, well, that was disappointing. But yeah, so we'll see what happens, what I decide to do these. If you're interested in any of them, I'm going to wait a little bit before I try to figure things out, because I might try to look at some used book to sell them myself. So if you have any ideas, pop it down below. If you're interested in any of these books, I'm willing to negotiate prices and shipping and all that with you. Like, that's totally fine. Also, let me know, or feel free to reach out to me directly. In my link tree down below is all of my social media things, or you can pop a message, either or. So we're just going to get into it, because like I said, it's a lot of books. So, which box? We'll start with this box here. So, all right. I'm going to go through and I'm going to pull some out here. I tried to kind of organize this to make the filming process easier, but then I put them all like back in here. And some of these were either given to me or were used or something like that, and I just never got around to reading them. So let me just make sure everything's pulled out here and easily. Okay, so we're going to start off with this box over here. This has a lot of my Robin Cook books. He writes like medical thrillers and like thrillers in general, and I was super obsessed with his books when I was in high school. And I like wanted to collect all of his books. And then I just kind of never read, like, he was really the only thrillers I read, because I enjoyed the medical twist on it, especially his books like with the cloning situations. But that's not really what I want to read anymore. And I feel like if I do ever want to pick up his books, I can try to get them from the library or whatever I want. So we've got Seizure in hardback. Then we've got Blind Sight, Terminal, and marker. So I think those are all of the ones that are hardbacks. All right, so then we have Vector, a very beat up copy of Coma, which I'll probably just end up putting in like a free bin somewhere. Vital Signs, Sphinx, God Player, and Critical. The only one I might keep is Sphinx. I'm still kind of on the fence about that one, but that's just because I loved Egyptian history. But it's not... It's still like a thriller, so I don't know if I'll actually read it or not. But that one I'm kind of on the fence about. And then I put the other Robin Cook stack over here. So then we have Invasion, Toxin. That's not him. Shock, Fever, and Chromosome 6. Okay, so I think that's it for Robin Cook's books. So I have a couple other hardbacks in here that are just kind of random authors. So we've got Knit the Season by Kate Jacobs. And then 10 Days in the Hills by Jane Smiley. And The Line of Beauty by Alan Hollinghurst. Okay, then let's go to this size of paperbacks. So we have Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. Then The Help, which this is brand new. It has the Borders sticker on the back. So I bought it at Borders and then never read it. And I've seen the movie, and I probably bought it because I saw the movie. But so The Same Sweet Girls by Cassandra King. Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. I mean, I like this cover, but I don't think I'd ever read it. Infected by Scott Sigler. This is kind of like when I was super into zombie apocalypse fiction, I read this, and this is more like alien invasion fiction, but now I'm more like, I want my aliens to be sexy. And then The Road by Cormac McCarthy, and this was given to me as a gift. This is still in brand new condition, and yeah. Okay, so the last little stack in this box are more little mass market. So we have Big Trouble by Dave Barry. The Tamarind Seed by Evelyn Anthony. And this one actually has sprayed edges. Remember Me by Sophie Kinsella. This one seemed like it kind of might be a romance, kind of might be more romance fiction, but everything I saw about it didn't really seem like it was interesting to me. And then Rising Sun by Michael Crichton. Okay, so there is box number 1. Okay, so we will come on to box number 2 over here. All right, so I do have, I am going to get rid of these. I read them. I wasn't a big fan of them. They were really weird for me. So we have the 50 Shades trilogy. I read them. They were, I don't know. I read them to know what the hype was about. Wasn't a super big fan of them. And it was really weird for me because the main character's name is Anastasia, which is my full name. And so it just was really awkward for me at times reading the book. Then I've got, somehow I ended up with some like uncorrected proofs of a couple books, and I don't know where I ended up, how I got them, but Oh Baby by Randy Ricefield and H.B. Gilmore. And then South Beach by Amy Friedman. I remember reading these when I got them in like high school and just thinking like they were completely silly, and I was like, this is not my high school experience, so it felt like really fake to me. Okay, then I have this year's Model by Carol Alt. And I know this was a gift to me when I was super obsessed with America's Next Top Model. Because who wasn't at that time of year? But I just never read it. And yeah, so then I have a couple of mangas. So somehow I ended up with 2 copies of Lovely Complex, volumes 5 and 6. And these are in like new condition. We have the first volume of Vampire Knight. I watched the anime, and I remember reading the translated scans of Vampire Knight, but I don't care enough to collect it, so I think I'm going to get rid of it. And then I also have SS Astro, just volume 1. Which I don't even know where I got that. I don't remember ever hearing of that before, but apparently I heard of it because I had a copy of it. And then I have books 1 and 4 of the Chronicles of Narnia, so The Magician's Nephew and Prince Caspian. And I'm getting rid of these because I have the like special bound sprayed edges Barnes and Noble copy thing that has the entire series, so I don't need those by themselves. And then I do have a couple of hardbacks in here. I have The Host by Stephanie Meyer. I wasn't the biggest fan of Twilight. It came out after I was kind of past that age. Not that I ever read young adult anyway, but I read it because I borrowed my sister's copies, and I was like, when the movies were coming out, I was like, I'll just read them. So I bought this one because this one sounded interesting. I never read this. And I don't know if I ever will, but I don't really need to have a copy of it, let alone in hardback, on my shelves. Then I have the second Infected book by Scott Siegler, which is Contagious. Never got around to reading this one either. So this one is also in pretty much like new condition. And then I have Timeline by Michael Crichton. Okay, and then I do have a couple of, I kept some of my like Japanese and Asian study history books because I think they're super interesting, but I do have a couple that I've decided I don't really want anymore. So this was my women's study textbook, but this is the guide to getting it on. And then I have Living Language, which is a linguistic anthropology book. These are all probably like so old of editions wise that they wouldn't even be needed by somebody, but I might try seeing if the local college might have some. And then another linguistic anthropology book. And then I've got some Japanese textbook studies. So this is Japanese popular culture and globalization. Japan's Total Empire, Manchuria, and the Culture of Wartime Imperialism. Marketing the Menacing Fetus in Japan. And then an Introduction to Japanese Society. So, I did keep a couple of the like other history books or other ones that I thought were super interesting, that I wouldn't mind just for now having on my shelf for, I don't know. I preferred the like more like straight on history books than these. Okay, so then some mass market paperbacks. So we have Gateway by Frederick Pohl. Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. I ended up with 2 copies of those. So one was probably mine and one was probably my mom's. And then I had a second copy of Second Chance Summer by Jill Shalvis. This is a part of her Cedar Ridge series, which I love. But I don't need 2 copies. Okay, and then we have The Bourne Identity by Robert Ludlum. I can't talk. I had an extra copy of Club Dead by Charlaine Harris. So this is Sookie Stackhouse. Whoa. I had an extra copy of On the Loose by Tara Jansen. This is a Colorado author, and the series is based in Denver. And then I had 2 copies of Anne Rice's Lasher, and this one does kind of have a step back, which is super fun. But I was thinking of keeping this one, but this is a part of the Witches series that she has. And the other version I have of this is like hardback sized, but it's paperback. And then the other 2 books in the series are in that same size. So I'm going to keep those ones, even though they're ginormous, just because the series will match in size. And then I have Wacky Sports, a little comic sports thing. So there is that. Now that is it for my 2 boxes of like miscellaneous items. So the rest of what we have is going to be, I can get things organized better here. And then I also have the Hollywood Standard. This is the complete and authoritative guide to script format and style, which I'm guessing was in the movie class. I needed that for the movie class I took, but we never like wrote scripts or anything, so I'm not 100% sure on that. Okay, so push. Whoop. Box over. Okay, so this is kind of romance adjacent, and this is going to be all of my Anita Blake books by Laurel K. Hamilton. I started reading the series because it's one of my best friend's favorite series. She's also who got me into Patricia Briggs and really kind of turned my viewpoint on werewolves, because before that in college I was very much a vampire girly and hated a lot of werewolves. But because I mostly read vampire books, werewolves weren't always depicted the best. But I just don't really have the need to ever reread these. And I feel like Laurel K. Hamilton is popular enough if I ever want to pick the series back up, I can either borrow her books or get them from the library. So it's a lot. I have a whole box just for her. So as for the ones I have in hardback, we have Dance Macabre, Skin Trade, Blood Noir, Divine Misdemeanors, Flirt, and Mistral's Kiss. Then we have Guilty Pleasures in like a trade paperback size. And then the rest of these are mass market paperbacks. So we have Burnt Offerings, Cerulean Sins with a pretend step back-ish. It's kind of a picture of a spider, but it's mostly just reviews. And then Obsidian Butterfly. I do really like some of her covers. I think some of her covers are really gorgeous. Another copy of Cerulean Sins, apparently. And then the Harlequin, which also has a step back. Micah, which has a step back as well. And then A Caress of Twilight. Okay, then we have Swallowing Darkness, A Lick of Frost. Oh, you know what? These are the fairy books. Okay, I might end up keeping the fairy books because I liked that series more, even though it's pretty much an RH series. Blue Moon and Narcissus in Chains, which also has a step back. You know what? No, I don't think I'll ever go back and reread them. I read them once. I enjoyed it a little bit more, but I still had issues with it. That one was more just like fairy porn, pretty much. The Lunatic Cafe. Seduced by Moonlight. I think this is another Meredith Gentry one. Yep. A Stroke of Midnight. This one's shiny. The paperback of Dance Macabre. And The Killing Dance. Okay, then our last little stack here, Bloody Bones, Circus of the Damned, The Laughing Corpse, A Kiss of Shadows, and Incubus Dreams with the step back. So there is that. Those are all of the Laurel K. Hamilton books that I own and that I will not be owning in the future. I will be purging them from my collection. So, the final book box I have here is Janet Ivanovich. Some of these are duplicates. I am keeping her contemporary romance series and her like one-offs. I do have a couple duplicates because I have a couple, I think it's 4 or 5 in the original Love Swept category covers. And then I have the newer versions as well. But most of this box is going to be either duplicates because I got super into Janet Ivanovich. My sister did as well as my mom. So we all ended up with copies. And when we were divvying up my mom's stuff, my sister was like, I have them all, so you can have all her Janet Ivanovich books. And as you'll see, some of these my mom bought multiple copies of. And, you know, we just got excited every time we found her anywhere. I stopped reading the Stephanie Plum series at one point because I just got tired of her not choosing between the people. And I was just like, oh my gosh, just pick somebody as your lover. Now, I stopped reading before book 20 or around book 20 came out in the series. I have, for now, kept, I think it's up through 13 in paperback. And then I took a picture of the books up to where I read, because all of those are in hardback. So if at some point I want to at least complete my collection, I'll be getting the paperback version. So I'm just getting rid of the hardbacks because I don't need to hang on to them until I get the paperback versions. So let's just get into it. So we have To the Nines, 2 copies of Lean Mean 13. So one of them was probably mine and one of them was probably my mom's. 12 Sharp. 10 Big Ones. You can tell this is where we caught up to releases. I have 11 on top, but there is no dust cover. I could not find the dust cover anywhere, which is weird because I found a box with a bunch of these dust covers just flattened. But apparently that one got lost. Smokin' 17. Oop. And Notorious 19. Then we have 2 copies of Plum Spooky. All right, and then these were Lizzie and Diesel, I think. So Wicked Appetite and then Wicked Business. Yeah, these are Lizzie and Diesel. And I kept this series in paperback. I don't need to have them in hardback. And then for some reason, I had the paperback copy. And my mother had 4 copies of Love in a Nutshell. So I don't know why. I don't know why. I mean, one of these might have been mine, but I know the paperback is mine because that was when I was putting like little library of stickers and things. And so the paperback has that in it. So that was one that I bought. So I don't know. I really don't know. Okay, and then we have the hardback of Motor Mouth. This is my favorite. The Barnaby series is probably my favorite from Janet Evanovich. I'm sad it was only ever 2 books. But I have these in paperback, so I'm getting rid of Motor Mouth in hardback. And then we have Finger Lickin' 15 in hardback, plus the paperback large print edition. Which that one I know for sure was my mom's. And then we have Explosive 18. Sizzlin' 16. Fearless 14 in 2 different sizes. Okay, and then we have hardbacks of some of the other side ones, but these are in smaller hardbacks. So we have Visions of Sugar Plums, Plum Lovin', and Plum Lucky. And most of these I have in hardback, or I have in paperback, or I will repurchased in paperback at some point. Then we have the mass market paperback. So I had a couple copies of the Stephanie Plum in that. So we've got 1 for the money, 2 for the dough, 3 to get deadly, and 4 to score. Okay, then I have extra copies of the full series. So we have Full Bloom. This is with Janet Evanovich and Charlotte Hughes. And this is another of one of my more favorites of her series. This is all contemporary romance. So Full Tilt and then Full Blast. And these ones are, these specific ones are just extra copies that my mom had. And I already had this series. And then we have Full Scoop, Full House. Oh, okay. Apparently there's 2 copies of Full Tilt. And then 2 copies of Full Speed. And then the last little stack we have are her like more category size. So we have Wife for Hire, The Rocky Road to Romance, Smitten, and Back to the Bedroom. So yeah, that's it. Those are the 4 boxes of books that I am unhauling. You know what? I set aside Sphinx because I thought I might keep it, but you know what? It's gone back in the box. I just don't need it. I just don't need it. So I think I'm going to stop there. That is quite a few books. And I'm excited that I will have more space on my shelves and by getting rid of all of these books. And yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, let me know if you're interested in any of these. If I do decide to do a use like Pingo or whatever one of those apps are, I will link it in my link tree as well when I get that set up. But feel free to reach out directly and I will let you know if I have or haven't gotten rid of or sold any of these books if you're interested in any of them. If you'd like to leave me a comment, definitely, like I said, mention any good places where you know to sell used books online. If you'd like to leave me an emoji, leave me a money emoji because hopefully I'll be able to trade these in for money to buy more books. But don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all soon with another video.